Start with an opening statement, then we'll open it up.
All right. Good to see everybody. I know it's been a long time since we've last spoke. So I've got some things I definitely want to talk about, and then we can open it up to questions. I'll try to talk slow as I can because I think Les is just typing with one arm. And so I'll try to go slow. In recruiting in the spring, we were looking for two things: size and skill on the perimeter, size and strength in the post. Up to this point, with two scholarships left, I feel like we've addressed those needs through high school players and through the transfer portal. Um, we signed Jake Laravia to start it out. A really good player. Recruiting his relationships, I was very fortunate that I had a very long-standing relationship with Greg Lansing, as did Coach Woodley on our staff. Jake was somebody that was going to get heavily recruited. Indiana was definitely involved, and probably the timing of their staff change sure helped us. We all need a little bit of help in timing. I love his size. He's 6'9", 230. I love his skill. He can really handle the ball, pass the ball. He's athletic, and he's really hungry to be here, and an outstanding student athlete. So he checks all the boxes for Wake Forest. So I'm really excited about him. Lucas Taylor came back to us. He had signed with Clemson, in the fall, and made the decision to reopen his recruiting. Lucas is somebody that I knew before I came to Wake Forest. He was people I know over here had told me about him. I had watched him on some tape. He's got great length, great size. Again, 6'6" on the perimeter and can really shoot it. I think he's going to be an outstanding defender. He's a high character kid. Again, another high level student. So again, checks all the boxes here, at Wake. Dallas Walton is another example of relationships and getting in there and getting it done. Coach Woodley coached at the University of Denver. He knew his AAU coach. I knew his AAU coach. I know the coaches of Colorado real well. And so we were able to get in there and get that done. Dallas is 7 foot. The coaches of Colorado tell me that he looks taller than that. And so I hope he is. He can really run. He's got great hands. He shoots threes. We'll probably let him shoot it a little bit more, maybe. Unbelievable student. He's got a major and 3 minors already, and will come here this summer and be really ready to go. He was healthy this year. I know there's been some concern about his knee. That was not an issue at all this year. He set out because of COVID, and so the coaches assure me that he's in really good physical condition. The last guy was Damari Monsanto. Obviously, I know Damari really well because I signed him. BJ and I recruited him. Very talented player. The year we went 30-4, I thought hard about playing him, especially at the end of November when we had a couple injuries. But I had a very old and experienced team, and I just did not want to waste a year of eligibility for him. I wasn't 100% that I would play him he needed to play to not waste a year. And so he redshirted, and it was really good for him. I had him and Ladarius Brewer both sitting out, and Ladarius was the first team all-league player this year, and Damari was the SoCon freshman of the year and all-league player. And so there was days when those two guys dominated our practice, and you can see why. Damari has really great size at 6'6". He's got really good feel. He can pass the ball. He's gotten better defensively. He'll have to continue to get better. And he has a knack to rebound the ball. He's got a nose for the ball. And when you look at our roster moving forward, we have 8 guys that are sophomores or below. So we have really good pillars in the program. Carter's really a second-year freshman. Robert Boo McCray is a first-year freshman. Cam Hildreth, first-year freshman, but playing against grown men in England. We talked about Lucas as a freshman. And then we have 2 third-year freshmen. Wrap your mind around that. Damari Monsanto was a third-year freshman. So he's coming in here just like these high school guys, the same amount of eligibility, but 2 years of college experience. Same with Tariq Ingram, 2 years of college experience, same eligibility as those guys. Jake Laravia is a third-year sophomore, and so is Odi Aguama. So those are 8 guys that are really good pillars for this program moving forward. I think that the portal's got a lot of attention lately, and I just think you have to have patience in the portal. You know, guys, just because somebody puts out on social media that we're recruiting them, that doesn't mean that we've offered them or that we are. You know, we have to do our job, and our job is to follow up in on these leads. We don't get to go out. You know what I'm saying? We don't get to go see them. And so we got to do a lot of background checks on these kids. And just because we follow somebody on Twitter don't mean that's who we're going to take. And, you know, that's just patience. We got to have patience. And, you know, in a normal setting, this process would take, you know, weeks, maybe a month to do. Sometimes it has to happen in days. And we have boxes we got to check. We got to check the boxes. Can they play? What kind of person are they? And academically, are they a fit for Wake Forest? There's a lot of things that have to happen in pretty rapid fashion. And this doesn't just happen on one phone call. Okay. And we don't recruit every player in the portal. And honestly, nobody's going to call a kid in the portal on my staff unless they ask me first. And if I make the first call, then it means we really want them. And I let the kid know that. And that happens. That doesn't always happen, but it happens. You know, I could totally understand why the transfer portal would cause fans to be uneasy. It's a new era. It's a new way of building a program. You know, I personally still think that high school players are really, really important. And I think there's going to be 2 phases now to the recruiting process. I think in the fall, we're going to sign the very best high school players that we can go get. And in the spring, we're going to chase the ones that are left, and then we're going to have to look in the transfer portal because there's going to be no other way to fill your roster. You know, we're going to have guys that probably leave that we don't want to leave. I haven't had that up until this year. In the 30 some years I've been a coach, I've only had 2 starters ever leave when I've been an assistant or a head coach. But I think we are in a new era now, and so we have to be prepared for that. But I still think high school recruiting is really, really important, and I think we've proven that this year by going out and really getting 4, because you got to count Carter in that crew, because you know he wouldn't have played had he not had the chance to get the year back. But I understand the anxiety of the fans. We got to learn. You know, we're gonna have to. All programs are gonna have to reevaluate how they build their roster, and I think we're all going through that right now. Now, you know, it's not something that's really intimidating to me because I'm used to doing it. But I think there's a strategy involved in getting the right players, the right people, and the right, not being too top heavy every year either, where you have too many guys that are older leaving the program. And so I think right now we're in a good balance. We still have 2 scholarships left. I'm looking for a perimeter player with good size that can score. And then I don't know what I'll do with the last one. I'll either take the best player or I'll hold it. I may hold it till next year. I don't know. There'll be some other players that will graduate probably at Christmas next year that we can be involved with. It's hard to play 13 guys. You can't play 13 guys. But we also need depth. And so it's a fine line what we will do with that last one. But right now, our main concentration is a perimeter player with size that has skill and can score the ball. You know, putting together a team is like putting together a puzzle. You know, you can't have all the same pieces. You got to fit all the different pieces together to get a finished product. You know, and they got to come from a lot of different areas. Like I said, high school, international, 4-year transfers, grad transfers. And so that's our job. We are currently in the Get Right program, me included. I came up with this about a month before the season was over. I knew I had to put a term on what we needed to do to move forward. And all I could really come up with in my simple mind was we got to get right. So it started on March 22nd, which happened to be my 56th birthday. I didn't get any birthday greetings from you guys. There's 5 people in the program: Musius, Williamson, Aguama, Ingram, and Witt. It's 7 weeks of intense strength training and conditioning. There's also 4 weeks of individuals with the strength training. That started on Monday. We have Monday meetings at 2:30. We rank the team based on effort in the weight room. You better not be last. We have a team meal after every workout. We haven't been able to do that till we started this. That's really important to me for team building. They have to put their phone away. They have to put it in a basket when they walk in the door. There's name cards every day mixed around where they have to sit, and they have to have a conversation with their teammate and their coaches. And there's also a question of the day they have to answer amongst everybody out loud. I think it's really important for team building. Right now, as going into week 4, I think Davian Williamson is plus 11 pounds. He's gained 11 pounds. Carter's gained 9. Odie's gained 7. Zay's gained 6, and Tariq's lost 3. As you can imagine, everybody's got a different goals and what they need to do. We did have some players leave the program at the end of the year. My staff and I have worked just as hard to help them as we have replacing our roster. I think that's really important. Jonah Antonio signed with an agent shortly after the season was over. He's going to play professionally. We're happy for him. Ian DeBose told me the other day he has it narrowed down to 3 agents, I believe. I've helped him with a couple, but that's his process. Jalen Johnson's still looking for a 4-year school. He'd like to play 1 more year. We've been very involved in that. Same with Blake Buchanan. After walking on for 4 years and getting his degree, he wants to go somewhere and have a chance to play on scholarship, and so we're helping him. Isaiah Wilkins, as you know, went to Longwood. Ishmael Massoud yesterday committed to Kansas State. Quadre is going to St. Bonaventure, and Eman's going to Temple. I think Jacoby's still out there looking, and we've fielded some calls and tried to help him as much as we can. I've always maintained a relationship with the players that leave, and I'm never going to turn my back on any young man that is not in this program anymore. They're good kids, and they deserve and our respect, and they deserve us to help them. The NCAA dead period, I have some thoughts on that. As of today, as you guys know, there was a report last night that the recruiting period was going to change in a one-time transfer. It's not quite true because they haven't voted on it, and that vote is this afternoon. But my thoughts on the dead period are a little different. I'm very disappointed in the NCAA that I'm not allowed to go visit the players that I've signed. I think it's asking way too much of these parents to not allow me to go to their home and meet them before they send their son to school. I just don't see the logic in that. That's not recruiting. We've already recruited them. We've already signed them. Cameron Hilder's parents are in London, England, and they're going to put him on a plane in June to come play for a coach they've never met. I think that's asking a lot of a parent. Robert McCray, same deal. Never met him. Never met his parents. Lucas Taylor, same deal. Jake LaRavia, Dallas. All these kids that we haven't met. I don't see the harm in us being able to get in a plane or get in a car and go meet the kids that we've signed. We don't have to go into their school. I just want to go in their home. And I am fully vaccinated. I just don't see I don't see the harm in that. The vote today is to open the recruiting period back up in June to a quiet period. I don't know if they'll have a couple of years ago, we were allowed for the first time to go out in June. We had a couple of weekends where we could go to high school events. I really actually enjoyed that, seeing them play with our high school teams. So I'm hoping that happens. And then the one-time transfer rule is allegedly coming into effect. And so it's about time they voted on that, since it's, April. I don't really understand why it's taking so long. As far as assistant coaches concerned, I haven't even started that process yet. I'm more concerned about recruiting. I'm more concerned about our players leaving, getting a place to go to school. I'm more concerned about our players here finishing on a great note athletically and academically. It's something that I will address in the coming weeks, but we really can't go anywhere anyway, recruiting wise. And so it's not really high priority at this time. I'll open it up to questions, and you guys fire away.
Steve, I guess first off, the Get Right program and kind of starting that with the guys that are on campus. What does that look like as far as the transfers that are already signed, the recruits that's already signed, maybe mixing them in and trying to get them built up and ready to start on campus?
It's a great question. Yeah, we definitely are in touch with them every day about their nutrition, about what they're doing as far as their workouts are concerned. Now you got to remember, Jake and Damari are a little bit older. They have access to a strength coach, where they're at. Some of those guys like Damari, he has to show me his weight every day. It takes time, but I think it's really important. I have all those guys in a group chat together. So they're getting to know each other. Every day I try to text them every morning, the whole group of the guys that'll be coming back here in June. But it's a little bit more hard. It's a little bit harder, Ethan, just because they're not here, as far as us being able to really have our hands on. That's why the summer is so important. And we missed that last year. Basically, we missed everything that we went through in March that we should have been through last year in March. We just didn't have that chance because of the pandemic and because the job wasn't open. The job didn't come open till, it's hard to believe, it's almost been a year, coming up here. And so we're doing our best to keep those guys locked in with the guys we have coming back. And we'll continue to do that until they get here in June.
With guys like Jake and Damari, is it just a matter of them finishing up classes? Like when do they get on campus?
Well, summer school starts early here. It's May 24th. So, there's a quick turnaround. You have to understand, those guys are just a matter of finishing school, and then they have to get their final transcript and get it to us. It has to get evaluated, and they've already going through the admissions process right now. I think you got to understand it's a little confusing. Summer school starts May 24th. There's 2 summer schools here in May, and then one starts in July. NCAA rules say we can work with them for 8 weeks, right? But they can be enrolled in both summer schools sessions to get to classes. They can actually come here once they start school on May 24th. Now, that doesn't mean I can work with them, but they can work with conditioning, strength and conditioning in a voluntary manner. So I don't know, Damari and Jake being older, they may come before, maybe June 7th, probably, when most of the guys will have to report. You got to remember too, now we're still in COVID. So we've got to do some quarantining still and those type of things. And I want to get way ahead of that before the 8 weeks start. I don't want any of that going on when we start practicing. Okay. I want that all out of the way. Last year, we got started on July 25th, but I was wearing surgical gloves for 2 weeks and then barely able to pass the ball to somebody. We're past that. So when we start going in the 8 weeks, we're going to go. And so we have to get all that stuff out of the way. So, but the high school guys, they got to graduate. And so their timing is a little different as far as when they can get here because they have to graduate, whenever their graduation is. But as far as Damari and Jake are concerned, it's just a matter of, finishing school and getting their final transcript here.
This will be my last one and I'll get out of the way. But with those 2 guys too, you mentioned that eligibility component, and I wonder the degree of difficulty recruiting a guy like that in the portal versus the grad transfer. What's the difference there, making those pitches to guys that are talented and still have a lot of years left, and especially now where everyone gets this extra freebie?
Well, it's a chance to come in here and play, in the ACC and make an immediate impact, with years to play. You don't have all the pressure. A grad transfer has a little bit more pressure because, he only has 1 year. Some of those guys have 2, it just kind of depends on the person. But I do find that recruiting the players with multiple years of eligibility, as you can imagine, is going to be a lot more competitive than maybe the grad transfers are, because the grad transfers are a little bit more of a stopgap, you know, or trying to help your team win next year, where these other guys are guys that you're building with, you know, and it can be in the program for a while. Now, how long? Who knows? I mean, you're talking about, again, we got a third-year sophomore, you know, but that might be eligibility wise, but academically, he's third year. You know, Tariq and Damari are third year. You know, so how does that play out down the road? I do not know. You know, we'll see. It'll probably depend on the player, on how long he wants to be in college. You know, some of these guys might be 25-year-old freshmen or seniors when we're done. I don't know. You know, it's kind of like BYU. You know, BYU's a lot of times, or Utah State, when I was coaching at Idaho, they'd have guys play as a freshman, you know, and they'd go on a mission for a couple of years, and then they'd come back. And by the time they were done, they were, you know, 24, 25 years old. And so it just kind of really depends on the player and how that plays out.
Coach, how is Tariq Ingram coming along so far physically? And then who's coming out on top of the Get Right rankings thus far?
Well, I'll start with that question first. Davian has probably been number one the most of those 4 weeks or 3 week rankings, which is encouraging to me, because Davian has never really excelled in the weight room. He's excelled more on the court than he has in the weight room. I could tell a major difference in his body already. Now, you know, I challenged him the other day, can you play like that? You know, because he's got 11 pounds, but he needs them. Now, what I've seen in workouts, he can, you know, but he has to maintain it too, you know, and that's another issue for him. You know, I think Tariq's been unbelievable. I mean, as far as just his conditioning and what he's been through and where he's at now. I know the trainers are overjoyed. I mean, I talked to GC yesterday, and I mean, it's and Starkey, and I think it's pretty amazing where he's at. As far as the guy didn't gain like 2 pounds during the whole time he was out. And that's hard to do. I mean, he didn't get to do anything, right? So he's 3 months of inactivity, but did complete discipline to his diet and his nutrition. And that's really hard for somebody that's young, you know, to do that. And so I've been very, very encouraged with what he has done, you know, coming off, Achilles and this. He's got a lot of thunderbolts, but it has great great personality, you know, unbelievable stick-to-itiveness to what he wants to do. And so to this point, at this point, I'm really happy with him. Now, I did tell him this before I was talking to him in November about elite condition. Tariq has to be in an elite condition to be a great player at this level. He's got to be able to beat his man up and down the court. He's got to be able to get back, play defense, because he can score. He's got knack. And so he's working hard at what I've asked him to do. It's going to take time, but we got some time, and I'm happy where he's at right now, Les.
Steve, I know you said you're being patient with the assistant coach vacancy, but what is the time frame on that? Like, you want to get into the summer? Do you want to get past the semester? Like, what are you looking at?
No, Connor, I'd probably like to have somebody on board before we start summer workouts in June. You know, that way, you know, they get to meet the players, and then before we go out on the road, because I would anticipate that, you know, in end of June, early in July, we'll get to be able to at least probably go out on the road and do some recruiting. And so I would prefer to have somebody on board before then. Will it be before the end of school? I might be pushing it. You know, and again, it comes down to recruiting. It comes down to, you know, our players and making sure that everything's good with them. But I would anticipate having somebody on board before the workouts begin in June.
Is Jason Shea a candidate for that? Just the familiarity that's there might be.
You know, Connor, I'm not going to really get into candidates right now. You know, obviously Jason and I have a relationship. We've talked a lot over the last, you know, couple months. But, you know, I have to do what's best for the program. And that's why I haven't really, I need to think about it, and I need to really think about what we need, what's going to be best for us. And so, I need time to do that. And I just don't feel like I have the time right now to do that because I have so many other things on my plate. And so when that time comes, and I think, I'll sit down and really think about it.
Steve, not to get you to comment on another program like ETSU's, but just as far as what Jason has gone through this last little bit, has there been, I don't know, any guidance you provide to a friend in that scenario?
Well, yeah, I mean, Jason and I obviously have a 12-year relationship, but my conversations with him and with Dr. Sander, who hired me, and Dr. Nolan, who hired me, are between us. And, I've had a lot of conversation with those three men over the past couple months. ETSU is a place that's very important to me and my family, and it will always will be. And I really wish them the best moving forward.
Coach, staying in the Southern Conference for a second, you've had a number of battles with Wes Miller, and he was considered at Carolina. He got the Cincinnati job last night. Just was wondering your thought on that.
Oh, I'm really happy for Wes. I don't think it's any secret how much I respect him. I have the utmost respect for him and what he's done there. And you're right. I mean, the best three programs in the league, the 5 years I was there, was East Tennessee State, Wofford, and Greensboro. And then you can see what has happened to their coaches during that time. Mike, went to Virginia Tech. I came here, and now Wes is going to Cincinnati. And so in the 5 years, the last 6 years, I think there's only two. Maybe Chattanooga was in the finals once and Mercer once. And the rest of that time, it's been either Wofford, Greensboro, or ETSU playing each other. And so that tells you where those programs were at. Wes is a really good tactician. He's a really good recruiter. He's got great personality, and I think it's a great step for him. I have a lot of respect for the Cincinnati program. I'm close to Coach Huggins. I know the history of that place, and I don't think they could have hired a better coach than Wes.
Following up on something you said earlier, you've been vaccinated, and you mentioned last week that you haven't even been able to go to like downtown Winston-Salem or to see your mom in a long time.
Yeah.
What are the priorities to you, putting the basketball stuff aside right now, for getting to know this community and getting back to some resemblance of normal life?
Well, Sunday, my wife drug me out of the house, and we went downtown and walked around, and I hadn't done that. I can't tell you exactly where I was at, but I know it was a pretty cool area. I think it was the art district. Is that right? Yeah, I'm pretty artsy. I had a good time walking around and, kind of incognito. So that part was fun too. If you put that mask up, nobody really can tell who you are. I really enjoyed that. We'll do more of that as the weather gets better and, we feel more comfortable getting out. I'm going home to see my mom on Thursday, next Thursday. For the weekend is her birthday. I haven't seen her since Christmas 2019. And so, I'm really looking forward to that. I'm taking my entire family, the dog included, who's in a diaper and socks. And so, come on, man. We all have family. I miss my mom, she misses me. I'm the oldest. And so it's something that I'm glad I can do now. My entire family is vaccinated. Even my youngest, Jonathan, who's actually today went to school. For one of the very first times he went live to Reynolds. And I was really excited for him to get a chance to go and, meet somebody. We all think we got it hard. I mean, he came here as a 16-year-old and has never been outside the house, really. He's never really met anybody. He met a few people. But, we're adults. This is a young man who's a junior in high school who basically lost the whole year. He lost his sophomore year in March and pretty much his junior year. So I'm excited for him to get to school.
Are you saying no one recognized you walking downtown Winston-Salem?
No, it's perfect. Perfect. So it was a good day. Not that that bothers me. I'm used to it. but they didn't, and it was a nice day. I got a lot of steps in.
Steve, with all the additions in the portal and with the 2021 kids, how can you quantify the excitement level of you and your staff to kind of get all those guys in the gym in June and start working with them to see if you really have what you think you have?
Oh man, I can't wait to open that glass door in June and pop that whistle and get it going. There'll be competition every day. And if you don't show up every day, you're going to get your butt kicked. That's the way I want it. It's the way I've always had it. And the competition brings the best out in everybody, coaches, players, and there'll be no days off. Because if you do, you're going to get embarrassed. And my best teams have always been that way. And I love depth. I love having size, legit athleticism, legit ball handling. I feel like we've checked a lot of those boxes, and we do have a good group of guys coming back. We haven't really talked about that, but Carter's going to be older, David's going to be older. Odie and Zay and Tariq, they're going to add to that, and they know exactly what I want. And I put that challenge to them the other day in one of our meetings: is, guys, when I pop that whistle and say do this, you better be in the front of the line. If you're not, we're going to have a problem. And because they have to lead this team to get everybody on the same page. That's why chemistry is so important. And that's why getting out of COVID is so important for me, is just being able to have a relationship with them away from the court. Like my house, I'm at the home. I live right across the street. That's pretty well documented. And those guys come over. Now they can come over, and hang out. And so, but yeah, Les, I'm ready. Trust me. I might need a little break, When recruiting gets done here, I wouldn't mind taking a week to the beach or something. It would be kind of nice, but we'll see. I know my wife wants to. I think she's had about enough, but we got to finish up.
Is recruiting ever actually over though?
No, if you're any good, it's 365 days out of the year. Now, I say that. I don't text anybody on Christmas. I think it's a little outlandish, but yeah, every day. Yeah. And I remind my staff of that every day, as I do myself. And am I recruiting 2022s and 23s? Yep. Oh yeah, definitely. And we got to get ahead. We got to get ahead. And we got a chance here, and as soon as this class is over, we're deep on some 22s and we got to start popping them. And, here's the other thing. Hopefully they'll start making some visits. Now, guys, we've signed all these guys and they've never visited our campus. Come on. Wait till we can put them on the campus. I always tell the players in recruiting, it's not about the buildings, it's about the people in the buildings, which there's a lot of truth to that. We got some nice buildings too, and so I think it's going to be really important to get them on here and experience campus. And our best recruiters are our players. I always believe that. Our best recruiters are our players. And so getting them to spend time with Odie and Carter and Davian and Zay and Tariq, those are powerful things. And then when Jake's here and Damari and Luke and Dallas, those are your recruiters. Those are the guys that sell your program. I'm not one of those coaches like, don't talk to this guy. Don't go over here. One of the things I do is different in recruiting that I don't think anybody does. I have a players panel on I'm giving up secrets now. I shouldn't do this, but I have a players panel every time there's a visit. You know what a players panel is? I just pick 4 players randomly. I tell them to go in the room, and I have the parents and the kid go in the room. They can ask them whatever they want to ask them, and I leave the room. I trust my players to do the best recruiting, and I want them to tell the truth. If they think I'm an asshole, I want them to tell them that's what I am. Or if I'm not, then I'm not. But that's real recruiting. And you're coming for the right reasons and not the wrong reasons. And I think that's important.
Has a good story ever come out of the players panel?
No, the story is usually I know what they're looking for. It's also strategic, right? So it's kind of like, what did they ask you? And I do it at the beginning of the visit. So then, you know, we have an idea where we're at, you know, and parents, and they're honest too. I appreciate it. I really appreciate it. No, I don't think there's any real stories. I think it's just, you know, it's just real. It's just real, you know, and it's random. It's not like, you know, I don't do the same 4 guys every time. It's not programmed, you know, it's just random who's available at that time. And I think I started doing that. I don't remember. I remember I was going through a period where I was just like, what can we do different on a visit? Because every visit is about the same. You eat a ton of food, you know, you watch film, you watch a workout, you go to a football game or whatever's going on, you know, and it's like, what can we do different? One of the things that really taught me about recruiting was Wichita, because there is no football. And guys don't, I mean, no offense, but guys don't pick schools because of a football game. Most of the kids I've ever recruited just want to see the kickoff and then they're ready to go. And so it's finding time and it's being smart with your time, you know? And so I thought that was something that was really important. I came up with kind of, I'm not very original, but that was one of my original ideas.
Have you or Davian or even Damari reached out to any of your former players to bring them over to Winston-Salem?
I'm not quite sure what you mean.
Like besides Damari, when you're recruiting the people in the transfer portal, because there are like 6-7 guys from the Buccaneers, have you guys made sure that you guys want to bring them back over?
Oh, good question. No. I'm not recruiting anybody else at East Tennessee State. You know, Davian was something that was a special, Cooper, a special situation because he's from here, you know, and I felt like once he went in the portal, you know, I thought I struggled with it. And I told you guys that I wasn't sure I should bring him here. I wasn't sure, but it has obviously worked out. You know, the deal with Damari was I had no intentions of recruiting Damari because he wasn't going to be available until they made his coaching change. And then when Damari went in the portal, I mean, I didn't see any reason why I let him go somewhere else for some kid I already recruited and who was a really good player. The rest of them are really good kids. And quite frankly, a lot of them I have recruited, but the ones that are coming back there are all the guys I recruited. The guys that are leaving are not. And so, no, I appreciate the question. I have zero interest in any other players from East Tennessee State.
Anything else for Coach, guys? All right. Appreciate you, Coach.
Guys,
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Yep.